So today is welcome to the recovery meeting on Discord. Um, my name is Amber, and I've been clean coming up on. I just literally did the math. On the 24th of this month, it'll be 10 years. I never really counted my clean time really ever. I mean, I knew the date, but because I was so ashamed and whatever, and my own traumas and stuff, and I never really like shared it or discussed it out aloud with people. And so anyway, when I did the math today, I was like, holy shit, like that's a long time. But anyway, so that's just a background. I'm not better than anyone or anything like that, because I've struggled a lot those 10 years because I was quiet for so long and I didn't let anybody in about anything. So I don't recommend that to anybody at all. But anyway, today's topic is going to be reservations. So for anyone that doesn't know, like a plan or a thought in your head, and that once I reach, I'm just giving an example. Once I reach 1 year, I'm gonna take a pain pill and see if I could put it down. Or I feel like I can celebrate this, so I'm gonna celebrate it doing that at this time. It's just like a later time to do something that you have in the back of your mind. Usually it's drug related, or yeah, and that's really important because a lot of us, if we don't have any right now, I'm sure we've had some in the past. Some people act upon them and it's a result of their relapse. Some people don't. But so yeah, the topic's reservations, and it's, do you still have any reservations right now? If so, what are they? And have you ever acted on a reservation you may have had? And what has happened as a result of you acting on it, if you did act on it? So I will, I'm getting sick, so don't mind me. My voice is gonna be starting to sound like a man here and there and whatever, but my nose is running, excuse me. Just 1 second. So I don't really have any active reservations right now, but I damn sure used to. And I would say it was like, because I was on Suboxone for 9 years, so I used to think to myself, well, how many days can I be off the Suboxone? And then if I took a pain pill or I went and got, high off my drug of choice, which was pain pills or heroin, would I feel anything? Or what if I stopped taking my Suboxone for a few days and then I took it? Would I feel something? And I struggled with that for many years being on the Suboxone. And most definitely another reservation I used to have was as long as I maintain my sobriety, but I can use a pain pill or something, as long as I don't use it for 3 days in a row, I'll be fine. Because once I use it for 3 days, then I'm gonna be sick off it, and I'm gonna be stuck in that cycle. So I absolutely did feed into that reservation. I think it happened to me 2 or 3 times, where I felt like, well, I'm just gonna take a couple pain pills, but as long as I don't take them for the 3 days in a row, I'll be fine. And every time I took it, I would be okay for a little bit. I'm talking about before when I had relapse and stuff, until I wasn't okay anymore. And so, yes, I've acted on reservations that I've had, and like promises to myself, like I wouldn't cross this boundary. As long as I didn't use it for 3 days, I'd be okay. And like I said, it worked at the beginning, probably for a couple weeks. And then before I knew it, 3 days came and went and I was on them again. And I broke that 3-day thing. So I thought in my mind is I'll be okay to get high as long as I don't take it for more than 3 days and nobody will ever know. But the reality is I'm an addict and I can't put it in my body at all, because once I do, it unleashes the beast. And that's what I have for my part on the reservation. So I'll open it up to others to share. Hello?
This is something that I struggle with. And so, like, I had talked to Tex before about this, that I still struggle with actually going out to certain places because I don't know if I can, like, stop myself from having a drink if other people are drinking around me.
Yeah.
And so, like, reservations is something I'm still struggling to find for myself, like, figure out a balance with. And, you know, that's why I come to these meetings, because I want to learn how to do these things.
So you're saying so your reservation would be for one day to be able to go out and have a few drinks? Is that what you're saying in your mind?
Saying, like, I would like to be able to have one drink and not feel like I have to have more than that at dinner with other people, because everyone else will be having a glass of wine and celebrating. And a lot of people in my family are Irish, and that's what we do to celebrate. But when I drink, I can't just stop at one. And so it's hard for me to find that where I can just have fun and not feel influenced to keep going when everyone else in my family doesn't have this problem and they can stop at, you know.
Gotcha. But you do know in your mind, right? You've accepted that you can't just have a drink because you are unable to not stop yourself.
Right.
Okay.
So, like, then right now I'm at the stage where I just don't go out if they're going to a bar and grill with them, because I don't want to influence. And I know that I'm not strong enough to stop at just one. And I'm afraid I might be influenced to have that one. And so I'm, like, isolating myself from going to places. Like,
Gotcha.
People that drink. Yeah.
So does your family know that you're in recovery?
Kind of. They just don't believe it's real. They don't believe that, like, my mental disorder is real, and they don't believe that my having a issue with alcohol is real, because they all drink and they don't see the issue themselves. Like, my dad's an alcoholic, but he doesn't believe that he's an alcoholic because of his choice of drink. He thinks because he drank wine, it's okay that he drinks wine. Like, that's just their mentality. And it's
right.
So it's difficult for me to get that respect from them. And that's something I've also talked with Tex about, is boundaries with my family. That's hard. Like, when my dad was here, I actually broke down and started drinking again with him. And it was because he was here and that influence was here. And then I stopped after he left. And so that's where I'm like, I don't know where to find that strength to not fucking do it, or, like, to not be influenced by them.
Yeah.
That's where I'm struggling. That's my stage right now.
Sorry, my husband just came home. I was just giving him a kiss. I heard everything you said. Yeah, that's really, really important. I can relate to that shit a lot. Like, my dad's an alcoholic. Not that they would pressure me to drink, and my problem wasn't drinking, but they don't see that there's a problem. They don't see any of that, but it triggers me to think, and then it opens the door for other things. So I guess I was so worried about becoming an alcoholic because that's what I grew up with. That's what I seen.
Yeah.
That alcohol was bad to me, but drugs were okay.
Yeah.
Or, pills from a doctor were okay, because that's kind of how I started it, like a prescription.
Like, if it's a doctor, it's different.
I had that same thing growing up, where my father was an alcoholic, but nobody ever wanted to address the fact that he was overtaking the pills that the doctor was giving him. So he had an opiate addiction too, but they were doctor's pills, so there's not a problem with it. And it scares me. That's my biggest reservation, is with medications. I have 5 degenerative disc, and I have psoriatic arthritis in my knees, my ankles, and my wrist. And I have the start of it in my elbows. So, Doc wants to give me Loratabs, and Doc wants to give me this painkiller and do this and do that. And I don't trust myself with my medication when they're opioid or benzo based to take them as prescribed.
Right.
And even if I do only take the one that's prescribed, I don't trust myself to take it in the manner in which a pressed pill or a gel cap pill is supposed to be taken. Like, I'm that person who will crush the pill up or take the capsule apart, or like, just because it's an opioid. And like, it's my biggest struggle in my recovery, because I live in so much pain. And so then I don't want to do anything. And then when I get the pain meds, I don't take them correctly. And then it leads me into another relapse. And I don't feel that I have it in me to come back after another relapse this time. And that's probably the biggest fear, is that, like, so Doc gives me these meds or we have surgery, and then what happens when they give me the painkillers? What happens? How do I get to do it where I'm not back on the end of a glass pipe?
Right.
And that's probably my biggest fear and my biggest reservation, is like getting the meds that are prescribed by doctors to handle the physical issues that I go through while staying clean and not allowing my disease to control my thought process.
Right.
I think is more of the issue.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really hard thing to deal with and battle in your mind, because, you know, I don't believe just because we're addicts that we deserve to suffer or be in pain. But I also totally understand what you're saying on how, well, it could unleash the beast, just one of them that I take. And if that does happen, I'm screwed. The same with me. I didn't use when fentanyl was out, but I don't just take one or two things. I think to myself, well, I need to take whatever it is, you know, and I'm going to take more, and it's going to be my last time. Like, there is no relapse in me left either. Because I will be one of those statistics that get it once and be done because I think I can handle it, or I think I'll be in control of it. And so yeah, I totally relate to that. But I also don't believe that you should suffer in pain either. So I do believe there's some alternate things besides just taking pain medication that they at least are coming out with now. I've heard of like some numbing, like not numbing lidocaine stuff, but like there's like injections that numb the site inside to stop the pain, like things of that sort. So maybe like exploring those kind of avenues, because I don't want you to keep suffering.
The only issue with that avenue is that in order to fix, especially the back, is it then goes in basically like an epidural or a spinal tap. And my biggest fear in my entire life, even growing up, was losing the ability to have my legs.
Yep.
And so it scares the crap out of me to let them put a needle again in the back, in my lower back, because I spent 14 hours not being able to hold my kid because I didn't have feeling in my legs after the epidural for Sophia. And I don't ever want to go back to the concern and the fear of not being able to have my legs.
Right.
So it's one where I'm trying to do it all together and not allow the demons to be like, see, this is why you're not good enough for anybody. See, you're just a nuisance. You're just a burden. Nobody's gonna want to be around you because there's all these issues. So it just, like, I'm clean today and I'm grateful for it. And I'm grateful that I get the ability to go through these emotions and figure out how to do it and still be the person that I want to be. But it's probably one of the hardest, most scariest things I've ever done.
Yeah. No, I can't imagine. I wish I had more advice on it, except I would just say to ask yourself and just think about it for a while. Like, is the fear about the legs and not having the movement of the legs? Could you deal with that fear versus it to help yourself and take care of the pain versus the bigger fear of actually ingesting the pain medication?
I mean, I guess if I trust the doctor enough who was doing the procedure, it would probably help the fear, because that's where the big fear is that I have to trust somebody else with the movement in my legs. And I already had to, like, relearn how to walk and do things as it was once. So, like, to go back and do it again and feel like such a weakling is a really scary thought process for me.
Right.
And the brain just tells me to go have one, and then you don't have to worry about that thought process because you have no pain.
Right.
Because when I'm high, there's no pain.
Right.
When I'm drunk, there's no pain. But when I'm high, I'm toxic to my family. And when I'm drunk, I'm toxic to my family. And I'd rather not be the toxic person anymore. But there's times where I'm in so much pain that I'm still the toxic person.
Right.
Because I'm in so much pain.
Right.
That I don't want to get up and I don't want to do anything. And I don't want the kids to lay on me. And it just sucks because I don't want to be that parent.
Yep. Totally relate to that. And, you know, people literally die or, you know, take their life and stuff just for pain. They can't manage the pain. The pain is so great that they just can't do it anymore. And I don't want that for you. So I'd much rather support if I had to freaking sit there on a video call or whatever while you went, you know, for the intake for that, or be there when you got out of it and like as a support to talk through it and like help. I would much rather that than you just keep suffering in this pain because you're petrified to relapse or go down that road and unleash the beast. Like, you don't deserve that either. So I just want you to think about that for me.
I will. I have a phone call with that doc next week anyway to try and see if there's something we can do, like simple outpatient status wise, where like I don't have to go to the hospital, but we're checking to see, because I know we can do injections in my knee, and we do the injections in my knee, and we do the injections in my ankle, but like the one in my back has me so damn scared that I freeze.
Yeah, no, I completely understand it. I have the same fear, just not about pain stuff, of mental health medications, because I was forced to be on a bunch when I was young, 11, 12 years old, and I couldn't move, walk, or talk. Even though I wanted to, I would be laying there in the bed, almost like in a coma, knowing what was happening, but I couldn't do anything. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't, you know. So even to this day, I still withhold a lot of my mental health things from my doctors because I'm scared to death that they're going to put me on something and it's going to make me feel like that again. That was the worst feeling ever, and I will never forget it. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah. But I also just don't want you to suffer so bad that
No, and I fully believe that like addicts and alcoholics and stuff shouldn't have to suffer in pain because of like medications, and the fact that like I don't believe I was in meetings with somebody where they were on pain meds because they broke their arm and they've got a metal plate in their arm now. And I had addicts tell them that they weren't clean anymore because they were on medication the doctor gave them, but they were opiates. And I don't believe that. As long as you take them the way the doctor tells you to and you don't abuse them. I just physically can't trust myself to not abuse them because I know where my addiction leads.
Yep.
So it's one where I feel so helpless.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's kind of similar. My dad's drinking like has started because he was a Marine and lost a lot of friends, and he just like that's how he dealt with it, was drinking, and that for him was a form of medication. And to him, if he have a drink, yeah, like if he doesn't have a drink, he fucking gets really, really sick. And he says it's because wine is healthy for him, and it's just such a fucked up, manipulative way to look at it, because he's killing himself, and it's teaching his kids that this is how you mend things, this is how you fix whatever's hurting you, and it's not right. But and I wish that like there is something that he can do to help him with that type of PTSD and pain that's not medications, because he won't take medications for it. He won't take anything like that.
There are support groups for veterans with PTSD. There are outside support groups that don't even meet at the VA. You just have to be willing to go to do that. There are vet centers that have absolutely nothing to do with. Yeah, but he has to be willing to see that there is an issue.
Yeah.
And even if even if it's an issue outside of the drinking, and it's just, hey, Dad, you know, like he mentions nightmares to you and some other stuff, and it's like, okay, hey, I know that you don't want to go to the VA, but there's this option here where you can still get some help for those. And maybe that would be the way to start that if you were trying to start that. But it does sound like he's in extreme denial and doesn't really want to change.
Yeah, I know. And you've kind of heard that. You've seen how.
Yeah.
But and that's why I'm trying to find it in myself. It's so hard with them, man. Like, they make me feel like I'm a baby because I can't fucking have a drink and not continue to drink. You know, like, it's just they make me feel like, well, what, Brie, you're not strong enough to do this on your own? Like, you can't have a drink with your dad and be fine? I'm like, no, I can't. And he's like, oh, that's stupid. You're my daughter. You can have a drink with me. Like, he makes me feel dumb. And that's why I end up fucking drinking with him. And it's just, and then I'm like, no, Brie, like, the whole reason you don't drink is because of your depression and because of your medication and your disorder, and it makes everything worse. And just because he doesn't believe it's real doesn't mean that it's not real. And that he convinces me, though. Like, it makes me believe him because I'm his daughter. And I'm like, damn it. And then I fall into that headspace, like, oh, it's okay because Dad says it's okay. But then whenever he leaves, I'm like, oh, what the fuck did I just do? Like, I totally just messed up my whole thing. I had an episode again. I started a fight because I started drinking, and now I can't stop drinking. And it's just like the whole cycle starts over again. And it's the most frustrating thing for me. And I'm trying to find that, like, something where I have that boundary. Like, me and Tex have talked lots of times, creating that fucking boundary with my dad. But
I totally get it. I just cut off all of my family besides my little brother, who's 20, his wife, and my mother. But all of my family, my grandparent, everybody, because of the exact things that you're saying, because it literally makes me tortured from the inside out. Just their denial and their blaming, and that they don't see that it's a problem with my dad. I should suck it up. And it was hard as hell for me to do. And I cried to every single person I had to block on my social media and stuff, you know, but it needed to be done. It needed to be done. It took me a long time. And every time I bitched about whatever event that happened that took place that really set me off on the deep end and triggered the hell out of me and my mental health and everything, I would also say, like, I don't even feel like I have room to talk about it because I know the solution to fix it. I just literally am not strong enough to do it yet.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until the pain was great enough. Literally, I just did this a week ago, I think, or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
That I did it. And I bawled at every single person I had to block. And I didn't feel any better after I did it. Matter of fact, I felt worse. I'm starting to feel a little bit better now. But it's a huge grieving process. And it's just getting to that point where you believe that you matter. You matter and your mental health matters, and you need to do what you need to do to protect yourself enough to be able to get that strength to do so, because it sounds like basically the same kind of situation I deal with. It doesn't matter how much you explain it. It doesn't matter how much you try to help those people, or it doesn't matter which way you scream it, you yell it, you cry about it, your side of everything and why you can't endure a drink and all that stuff. It doesn't matter how we say it, or they're just never going to comprehend it. You know what I mean? And that's a hard pill to swallow.
It is. And it sucks because, you know, he wasn't around most of my childhood. So he didn't come around until I was like really able to drink. He was there for a little bit and then he would disappear. And then he was there and then he'd disappear. And then I actually got consistency when I was old enough to drink with him. And that's what sucks, because that's our second relationship now.
It's like a trauma bond, an acceptance bond, because you long for the relationship with your father, of course.
Yeah. And it's like, and now every time he's around, he's like, yeah, have a drink with your old man. Like, life's just a party. And he's very carefree. And it's just, it
I
sucks.
totally get it. Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm
But
trying to be a better person. Like,
you're not weak. And I just want you to know that, like, you're doing what you need, at least vocalizing, you're being able to recognize the situation. You're not crazy. You're not weak. You're not, there's nothing wrong with you. Nothing. Like, that shit's real. And I experience it too. And that shit, yeah, I just wanted you to know that, because I thought literally for 29 years, like, it was me and I was crazy and my mindset was messed up, and what was wrong with me that I, you know, wasn't good enough to explain this or for them to see my side. Or I still think about it, like, maybe if I just said it this way, they would accept, you know, like, for real.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah. And that's and I do appreciate you saying that, because I go in and out of that feeling a lot. That, like, well, like, is it me? Is it my the problem because no one in my family sees that they have a problem? Maybe it's, you know, maybe I'm just born fucking fucked up. I'm just like,
Yep.
and I hate that feeling because it's not true. And especially
Right.
when you have BPD and bipolarism and those intrusive thoughts come in,
Mm-hmm.
God, it can really set like a really bad depressive episode. And that's
Yep.
what something else that they don't understand either. Like,
Mm-hmm.
fucking BS.
Yep. Totally can relate.